One of my favorite sports families is with us today on We Are City of Five Nations podcast in our series, 30 Days of Community Building. I have the pleasure of the last couple of years finally being able to figure out how to bring swimming to our audience over on a different channel. And this year, our socks were blown off, literally, as one of the best youth swimmers in America took the pool for our high school. And of course, I am talking about Piper McNeil. Let's meet Piper McNeil. Piper, welcome to We Are City of Five Nations podcast.
Hi.
You know, I really mean that when I said, wow, when I saw you first hit the water on the first race that I witnessed, I had heard so many things about you on the national level and the different competitions that you had gone and dominated. But when I saw you swim, it was the first time it seemed like I was watching somebody who knew what they were doing. Piper, how did it all begin for you? How did your swimming career begin?
Well, my mom injured herself while running. So then she went swimming at the Y, and then the lifeguard told me I should swim. So that's basically how it all started. And then I joined the YMCA team. And
that's awesome.
Here.
And so it just happens that here in our YMCA, and the one that you began with, Valerie Colburn was the coach then, as she is for your high school. Talk about Valerie and the influence that she's had on your swimming career.
I've known her since I was probably 7, so she's really close to me. So it's just good to have a good relationship with the coach and be comfortable in front of them. So it's really good to have her as a coach.
And you mentioned Mary, and of course, Mary is your mom, who was a standout athlete herself. And you have an older sister, I know, Peyton, and pretty soon we're going to talk to your dad, who was a Division I athlete as well. How important has it been for you, Piper, to have such a strong family around you?
They support me in any decision I do, and they'll help me with anything that I want to achieve. So it's just really helpful that they know what they're doing.
You know, I've been so impressed. You've been so humble since day one. And I'm talking about that first time we did one of your meets. And I think every time you got in the pool, you won every race. And 3 or 4 school records were even set that day. But in swimming, people must realize there are individual things happening, but also it's about team. And you also had a teammate this year in Isabel Webb, who also was named at the end of the year as one of our state's finest swimmer. Talk to us a little bit about your team, and in particular, Isabel.
Yeah, it's definitely good to have people push you so then everyone can get better. So I'm really glad that I have her as a teammate, and especially all the girls, they're super supportive, and yeah.
It makes it a lot more fun to have people you can look up to like Isabel, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit, Piper, about a typical workout for a swimmer. When you guys practice, how does that look for the couple of hours that you're in the pool?
It's normally 2 hours long, unless it's a day before a meet, and it's honestly just 2 hours of nonstop swimming. I mean, you get breaks, but it's not anything super long. It's maybe a minute break if you're lucky. So it's just 2 hours, really hard. So it's definitely hard mentally more than physically. So it can just be hard sometimes, but then to see it pay off, it's definitely the most rewarding.
I can understand that. And boy, was there a payoff this year, at least in the high school standpoint. In your freshman year, you're named the top female swimmer in the state after dominating the Class 6A swim meet. tell me a little bit, Piper, how did that feel when you left the aquatics center in Tulsa after placing first place in your 3 events?
It felt really good. It's just I didn't expect too much because I don't want to get like a big head or anything. So I was just super optimistic going in. So it was just the day went like as good as I could have expected. So I couldn't have thought of like a better day.
I love that, Piper. And I'd like to talk to everybody as we bring Piper's dad in as well. In the City of Five Nations, how cool it is to have top world-class performers in so many aspects of our lives all around us. And that applies to your community, no matter where you are in the world. If you look and you get to meet the people in your community, you will find world-class people all around us, and what examples they are for all of us. And as I want to ask you, Bob, I left the last one as Piper also was named High School All-American, one of the best as a freshman in the entire country. As a dad, how does that make you feel?
Very proud. Now, as far as the All-American, she's hit the qualifying standard, but now that won't officially be named until June. So that she has hit the qualifying standards, but it's not technically official yet.
So Piper, don't get the big head, just like what you just said.
Yeah.
But Dad, that takes me right into you, man, because you've always got it together. You're always telling me this is what's going to win it. This is what's going to have to happen. This is how it's going to have to go for it to play out. Not only are you dad, but you're coach. Talk about coaching your daughter and walking this journey side by side with Piper.
Well, I think Piper has been extremely fortunate along with us from her very beginning that with the YMCA, we had Johnny Hunter. Valerie has always been her head coach through the Y, now high school. These are high school coaches that, were right in the midst of OBU's national championship run. They went on to coach St. Gregory's. That definitely helps because they emphasize not just swimming one event or trying to be good at one. They stress all 4 strokes in swim. So I think that gives kids an advantage over others that they only want to concentrate on their strengths. Along the way, she's had a lot of input from a lot of coaches. Lauren Spray from OBU, who was right in the national championships and All-American, had great input. Her club coach, American Energy, Coach V, definitely is a great mentor and role model for her. Hogan Thomas, who definitely has helped with the higher end. The better she gets, the more input she needs from higher end. I knew my limitations right off, that it's to help prepare her mentally, physically, give her the background. But, it's better to surround yourself with the experts than to try to think you know it all.
And Piper, you're quickly becoming an expert as your accolades. I want to tell everybody, you set a Class 6A record in the 100-yard backstroke at the set meet, completing the race in 55.49. You also won the 200 individual medley at 204.58. You didn't get a record there. What's going on? And then you were a part of the 200 freestyle relay with a time of 1:40.112. Piper, what is your favorite stroke to compete in and why?
Definitely backstroke because it's the only one on your back. So it's just different. But it's also like one of the hardest on your legs. So I don't know. There's like good and bad to all the strokes. But back is definitely my favorite.
Look at this. I think that's from me doing the backstroke, and I hit the edge too often. I don't know what I'm doing, so I get a headache when I do the backstroke. But hey, Bob, when we talk about
Yes, sir.
the different times, like 55.49 and 204.58, those times I know you've got them down. Are those times that Piper hits quite regularly, or are those personal bests? How did we do at the state meet?
Well, those at this point in time, those are definitely PRs. Piper knows probably more than I do as far as the time. She knew exactly what it would take. We had a good idea what it would take to win the backstroke. Now, she had a great competitor who was the reigning 6A state champion in the backstroke from Bixby, Kaylee Henderson. So it wasn't a given. We knew it would take a state record to actually win the event. The 2IM, you kind of had an idea that that was probably a strong race. She had a good chance to win. As far as the state record, it is currently held, well, actually in 6A, but her teammate holds the 5A record. So this is swimmers that are at Auburn University and the University of Kansas. So in order to get that record, that's going to put you in some pretty good company.
Okay, Piper, you're already swimming in pretty good company. What's the goal for the 200 IM?
Definitely a state record. I just don't know when. So hopefully sophomore year.
Well, what does that mean time-wise? What's your time goal?
I think the state record might be 2:02, so I'm like 2 seconds off, which is doable, but it'll take a lot of training.
For some who don't know about swimming, when we say 200-meter medley, what does that mean?
It's a 50 of each stroke, which a 50 is down and back, and then all the strokes are fly back, breast, and free. So it's just like all the variety into one.
Where do you make up time, like 2.5 seconds? It doesn't sound like a lot, but in the pool, that's a heck of a lot of time. Where do you work the most to make up that time as Piper McNeil? Is it one of the particular strokes, two of the particular strokes, or is it in your transitions at the wall?
I would say probably back and free, just because those are two of my stronger events. And then breast is where I get behind, so I'm definitely going to work on that. So it's like not such a weakness.
Well, with the medley and with the backstroke, Piper, are those the only ones other than, can you only compete in 3 at the state meet? So did you win all 3 that you competed in?
Yeah, so you can compete in 2 individual races and then 2 relay events. So I competed in the 200 medley relay, the 200 free relay, the 200 individual medley, and then the 100 backstroke.
So, Bob, is that up to the swimmer to determine where they want to swim, or is it a team and a coach decision in order for points? How does that work at a meet like that?
Well, you definitely want to put a swimmer where they're in the best position to score your team points. Now, you know, some kids aren't as proficient at all 4 strokes, so you want to put them in their strength. But as a coach, that's, you know, mine and Valerie's job is we have to know who the competition is. We need to know where you're going to fare the best in. Just because you want to swim it doesn't necessarily mean that's where you're going to score us points at.
So, Bob, that sounds a lot like track. And now I'd like to make the point of you and Mary, if I could. Both of you were very good athletes. And how did that translate into parenthood and how you've dealt as a parent with Peyton, which is Piper's older sister, and Piper as athletes and just in general? And first of all, tell us what you and Mary accomplished as athletes while you were younger.
Well, my wife was a standout basketball at McClish, which is kind of odd. Neither of our daughters ever played basketball. I was a track decathlete and pole vaulter, which neither of our daughters had a liking of. Peyton was definitely on a travel team, competitive, ultra competitive volleyball. Piper tried that. And, as they're younger, you can kind of do more sports. You get into 6A high school, you never want to discourage other sports, but it does take time away from your primary sport. So I think it's just the competitive nature, how to eat, how to train, how to, it's a total family support. Everybody has to be on board.
Well, Piper, okay, so let me just share with you full disclosure. Just before coming online today, I had somebody drop me a couple of donuts, and there was something else in the bag. It was like a hot dog, pig in the blanket or something. And I had donuts and pig in the blankets. Are those like off limits for you? Can you ever eat those as a world-class athlete?
I mean, I'm not too strict on the diet because I'm so young. So I mean, I definitely eating healthier foods make me perform better, but I'm not super duper strict on my diet. So, I mean, it's just kind of, I like eating healthy, so it's not that bad, honestly.
Very good. I want to recommend the pigs in the blanket because, I mean, even without the mustard or ketchup, it was really good. And I would hate for you to miss out on that. But not just in food. I know you have to do extracurricular training to get to the level that you are at. What kind of workout routines outside of practice have you had to put yourself through?
So I do like hour workouts. It's just strength building. My trainer
We lost
Ladon, and it's definitely helped me improve. And I'm like way stronger than I was a year ago, so it's definitely helped.
Very good. So what I heard, you were with LaDawn Hadlick over at the YMCA doing strength and conditioning, and that has had a huge impact for you.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Well, Bob, I know you're in service over at the YMCA as well. How has the aspect of being able to stay close with Piper as you guys travel together as families, as you choose the meets that you guys go to, how has that helped, do you think, to add to what Piper has been able to accomplish?
Well, when she was younger, it was a lot of fun. We traveled. She enjoyed having dad/coach. As she gets older, and it's probably the same with any coach that has their own son or daughter that they coach. They probably choose not to listen to you. So, a lot of times I have to kind of behind the back, hey, Valerie, we need to do this. She'll listen to you. She won't me. And that's probably the same with any high school or college level coach.
I would agree. And Piper, if you could choose, and this might not be a fair question, so you can let me know if it's not, but if you could choose one thing or one aspect of what's brought you to where you are today on your success level as a human being and as a swimmer, what would that be? What would Piper McNeil point towards at such a young age? What, you're 14, 15 years old?
Yeah, I just turned 15 last Saturday.
Happy birthday, Piper.
Thank you.
So what would that one thing, what would you point out?
I can't really think of one specific thing because there's a bunch of different things that like build up into like one good athlete. So I honestly couldn't pick like just one.
That's very fair. Do you consider yourself just a kid, or do you consider yourself an athlete? What do you consider yourself? Because I know you've been, you've been identified as really one of those up and coming athletes that very few of us ever get to even sniff in that air. How does that make you feel? Do you feel, how does that make you feel, Piper?
Honestly, I feel like completely normal. I'm just like a regular kid like anyone else. So I really like just like being normal. I just like hanging out with friends, honestly. I can't really like.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what I want to say to that is, I'm sorry to put you with such an uncomfortable question. That's really not a great question to ask you, but I think it's very important for our audience to hear that so often people that excel, as you have, really are just normal people, and they just want to be normal people, and that you just happen to have a gift, and you happen to put in the work, and you happen to excel. It doesn't make you any different, and it doesn't make you feel like you have to be treated special or anything else. I just love the spirit about you, Piper. Thank you very much for coming on with us today and letting us get to know you a little bit better.
Thank you for having me.
And Bob, man, you and Mary, you knock it out of the park. It's obvious anytime that I'm talking to either Piper or her sister Peyton, or even you guys. I kind of like you guys too.
Well, we love the support Shawnee TV gives the swim team, along with our local YMCA, and Brandon has made, our life much easier.
Well, Bob, you make a lot of people's lives a lot easier too with your wisdom and with your experiences. We certainly thank you, and thank you for allowing us to speak with your daughter today.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you.
You guys have a great day. Thanks again for being with us.
You too.
Thank you.
You have been watching We Are City of Five Nations podcast, our 30 Days of Community Building series. And what a joy it is to be able to meet youngsters like Piper McNeil. And it is in all seriousness that I am saying, when you watch that young lady swim, you think world-class athlete. It just jumps out at you. And how often does that happen in front of us in your community? Well, it's a very special thing when it does. There are usually people around who are very special, but unless we get out amongst one another, we will not be able to recognize that and be able to enjoy it as part of our everyday lives. We believe in the City of Five Nations that all our 10-mile radius, we want to get to know, and we feel that it will help all communities grow stronger and grow better towards human prosperity. The more that we just open up, become a little bit vulnerable by stepping and asking people about themselves and listening, and not trying to change, but just listening and learning. Again, thank you for watching today. It is We Are City of Five Nations podcast. This is our series, 30 Days of Community Building. And in the City of Five Nations, together, we are building community one season at a time. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.